Hey everyone, welcome back to Travers Talks. I'm your host, Jim Horn. Today we're talking about a case that's made headlines across the state and even the country. A case that began with a virtual county commission meeting and ended over 3 years later with a 6-figure legal settlement and a formal apology. Joining me today is Keli MacIntosh, the plaintiff in a lawsuit against Grand Traverse County, and former Commissioner Ron Klaus. Well, Keli, I appreciate you being on the show. I know it takes a lot of courage sometimes to speak out on these things, but you have a lot of courage. You've hung with this lawsuit for a long time. So let's start with the basics. Can you walk us through what happened during that 2021 virtual meeting and what your reaction was at that particular moment?
Yes, I had after January 6th, I had become really concerned about, I guess, the changes that were starting to happen in our country and the fact that the Proud Boys had been invited to a commission meeting to convince the commissioners that Traverse City should be a sanctuary for Second Amendment rights. And a lot of my friends and I were just really concerned after January 6th. So I was hoping that I could get the commission to just make some kind of a statement that even though they had made us a sanctuary city, they were not condoning the violence that had been taking place. Just something to, I guess, settle people's nerves. And right after I made that request for a statement, that's when Klaus got up and got his assault rifle. It was really difficult to see exactly what happened at the moment because we were on video screen and there were like 12 or 16 different little squares. But
how did that Keli, how did that affect you personally when you saw Klaus come in with the assault rifle?
I was stunned, I guess would be the best way to put it. I was asking for them to denounce violence, and his statement, quote, quote, was to hold up an assault rifle. It really, I guess, shocked me. I'm not sure that initially I thought of anything other than, okay, I got 2 sentences left to say, and then this would be done. The more time I had to think about it, it was like it was a slap in the face. I don't know, a punch in the gut. And then within 10 minutes, I started getting phone calls from people, many of them I didn't even know, asking me if I was all right, telling me that if I needed any help with anything, that they would help me. People I didn't even know. I don't know how they got my phone numbers, but I was on the phone nonstop the rest of that day and most of the next day with support from the community.
Well, your lawsuit referenced a chilling effect on the public speech. Can you talk more about how that moment impacted your willingness or others' willingness to participate? I mean, what did the people that called you on the phone? Obviously, they were supporters, and what did they have to say?
That they were really shocked, that they were disgusted. There was one young man who said, I want to help, and it's not just for you. It's not that I don't care what happens to you, but I'm worried about my family. I had a guy who apparently was head of some assault rifle Facebook page who told me that what had happened was ruining it for us legitimate gun owners. Somebody had told me that they would set up a GoFundMe page if I needed help with something. It was amazing the number of people who felt the chill, and I don't know, I guess it was probably a combination of things that had happened with our Board of Commission meeting and then what was happening in Washington. And then it was almost like, is this how our county government is going to be run now?
And you were really getting support from both sides, as you said, the gentleman who had the website for assault rifles, and then obviously from the people in Grand Traverse County. And And I think that's important. I think what you're saying is even the gun, the people that support the Second Amendment, and most of us support the Second Amendment. But what you're saying is that if I interpret it correctly, a lot of people were appalled on both sides by what went on.
Yes, and there was somebody who was going to write a letter to the editor, and that ended up getting almost 1,500 signatures. I didn't even know it was happening until the day before they were going to, I guess, turn it into the Record Eagle and then the commissioners. They wanted to know why my name was on it. And I didn't even know anybody was doing it. So they asked me if I wanted my name on it, and I told them sure.
Well, the case spanned more than 3 years. It's a long time. What made you stay committed to pursuing the legal accountability throughout the long process? And I can only imagine at the start of the legal process, this is typically what the opposing lawyers say. Well, this is a frivolous lawsuit. Don't bother, right? What made you hang in there?
I guess the fact that somebody needed to do something to see if they couldn't draw attention to the kind of thing that was happening, not only in our county, but in our country. And I have jokingly said, why did it take a little old lady with gray hair to stand up and make a big deal out of it? But what would have happened had I not? What would the next thing have been?
Right.
And at least it was somebody blowing a whistle and saying, hey, this isn't right. Now, people have the right to do whatever they want with their assault rifles within reason, but a government official in the middle of a government meeting acting in an official capacity, that it didn't seem right. And had we been meeting in the county building and he had gotten up and gone into the back room and walked out with his assault rifle, people would have been really upset. The fact that it was a Zoom meeting doesn't mean that the rules don't apply.
Right.
And Henschel had said, well, he didn't break any laws. Well, there weren't any laws or policies governing Zoom meetings. So if nothing else, somebody needed to make a point of the fact that you can't just do anything on a Zoom meeting. If you can't do it in the chambers, you can't do it on a Zoom meeting.
The settlement includes a $100,000 payment and a formal apology letter, which I saw on the Record Eagle. Do you feel that this outcome delivers justice or closure in some kind of form?
Yes, because, and I don't know if it's so much my lawsuit or the fact that attention has been brought to the commissioner's activities as a whole, but there have been a lot of positive changes that have happened in the last 4 years.
Right. And I believe you said on the $100,000 settlement, you were going to pay off your legal fees and then possibly, make a donation to some kind of charitable group that, whatever, a charitable group of your choice.
Well, yeah, what I was hoping was that I could set up some kind of a fund or scholarship for students going into mental health work.
Super.
4 years of legal fees. I'm not sure how much money there's going to be left over.
Well, God bless you for the thought. And so it just goes to show you didn't do this for the money.
Oh,
no.
Well, and I was so surprised because I had gotten a couple of snarky things on Facebook and whatever, and people saying that this was a dirty trick just to get money. And I said something to my lawyer about, why in the world would people think I was expecting money? What would money do to fix the situation? But anyway, there are legal bills. Yeah,
there certainly are. Yeah, the Attorney General office originally declined to pursue criminal charges. Do you have any thoughts about that decision, or did it shape anything going forward?
Well, there were no pictures of him pointing a gun at me. There were no tape recordings of him saying he was going to shoot me. They didn't have anything that they could capture to take into court as evidence.
Right.
And so, he said, he just wanted to show everybody that he had a rifle. mean, it wasn't like show and tell. It wasn't like the day after Christmas when we were all, showing our favorite gifts. He might have had a totally innocent reason for doing that. I don't know anybody that would say it wasn't a stupid thing to do.
Exactly. Yeah. His common sense. He dropped all of his common sense and went ahead with something that really didn't make, was more bravado than anything, obviously, but bravado at the wrong time isn't necessarily a good thing, right?
Well, and the fact that Rob Henschel just sort of thought this was the funniest thing, and the video of him just laughing, ha ha ha, isn't this great?
Yeah.
It's not the right message to be sending. The leadership of the county commission at the time left a lot to be desired.
So this has been a long time, 3 years. You've hung in there. And what's been the community response? Have you felt supported, or have there been moments of pushback? You're laughing.
Well, I'm laughing because today, when I was walking my dog around my neighborhood, this car was pulling up, and I usually just go off to the side of the road, and this car sort of pulled up in the middle of an intersection, and the window went down, and this lady hollered out, "Congratulations!" I have no idea who she was. She apparently lives around in our neighborhood, because where I live, you sort of have to get out of the area, but she said she's seen me walking my dog. She's been following this case for the 3 or 4 years, and she was just happy that it turned out the way it did. Now, right after this happened, there was this pickup truck pulled in my driveway, and the lady jumped up out and she said, "We're not going to harm you. Honest to God, we're not going to harm you." And she said her husband told her, "Make sure you tell her that she's safe," because they were concerned. They lived down the street and around the corner, and they came down and handed me their business card that had both of their home phone number, cell phones and stuff. We live in the car. It would take us 30 seconds to get here. If we had to run, it would be a minute and a half. If you need anything, I don't care if it's the middle of the night, you call us. I had no idea who these people were.
Beautiful.
My friends were tripping over themselves trying to make me feel good. But a lady came up to me in the grocery store after, 6, 8 months. "Are you sure you're okay? If you need money, let me know. I have a bunch of friends who want to help you."
Wow.
Yeah, and these are people, and most of the people that called me within a day or two afterwards were people that I didn't know.
Wow.
Just want you to know that we're behind you if you need anything. And I actually ended up having people offering me a safe house to stay in when the threatening phone calls started coming in.
Yeah, I'm sure you had threatening phone calls. Yeah.
I knew that.
And that's what's tough about being a whistleblower. But now that the case is settled, Keli, what message, wrapping this podcast up, what message do you want to send to others who witness or experience intimidation in public places or civil spaces, or civic spaces?
Well, the first thing is whoever it is isn't alone. There are more people who are really, really concerned and willing to stand up and fight. And there's the saying that what Peter, or whatever his name is, that wrote the book on tyranny. Sorry, I slipped out of my head. But if no one is willing to die for democracy, we're all going to die under a tyranny. And I have a plaque sitting right here on my table. We all place ourselves in danger in one degree or another when we stand up. However, we place our children and our grandchildren in even greater danger when we don't. And so my thought is somebody's got to do it. If a little old lady who's almost 80 can figure out a way to put it together,
I think anybody can. Well, Keli, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and telling your story. It's a great story. It's a great story of somebody that has the courage to stand up against whether it's the county government or anything, and speak out You went through a long process here. 3 years is a long time. And, I'm sure you questioned yourself why you were doing this, but God bless you for doing this, because I'm sure because of your actions, other people will now stand up when they feel intimidated. So it's a good deal.
So let me say one super, absolutely wonderful thing. The night this happened, I got a text from a friend, and it said, "Did I ever tell you you're my hero?" Talk about warm, fuzzy feelings.
Yeah, that is great. Well, Keli,
I'm sure everybody has heroes that will come to their rescue.
Yeah, and you're one for the Grand Traverse County, that's for sure. Keli, you take care of yourself, ma'am.
Thank you much.